The massive alien ship appeared in Earth's orbit on a Tuesday morning. It hung in the sky like a dark moon, visible even in daylight. People around the world stopped what they were doing and looked up. Some ran, some prayed, some celebrated. But in a small office at the United Nations building in New York, Elaine Murphy just sighed and reached for her coffee. "So they're finally here," she said to no one in particular. Elaine was 42 years old with short brown hair that she never had time to style properly, and a face that people trusted instantly. She had worked as a diplomat for 15 years, mostly dealing with small conflicts between nations that no one ever heard about. She was good at her job because she stayed calm when others panicked. 6 hours later, she sat in a meeting room with 12 nervous government officials from different countries. "We need someone to make first contact," said George Banks, the UN Secretary General. His face was pale, and sweat stained the collar of his expensive shirt. "Someone who can represent Earth. It should be a head of state," said the French representative. "Too risky," replied the representative from India. "We can't risk losing a national leader if things go badly." They argued for another hour while satellite images of the alien ship played on screens around the room. The ship had not responded to any communications. It just waited, silent and enormous. Finally, George Banks looked directly at Elaine. "Murphy, you've handled difficult negotiations before. You have experience with cultures that think differently than we do." Elaine almost laughed. She had worked with foreign governments, yes, but nothing had prepared her for aliens. No one on Earth was prepared for this. Still, someone had to go. "I'll do it," she said. "But I'll need a small team." 24 hours later, Elaine stood in a white room at a military base, wearing a new blue suit that someone had rushed to get for her. With her were 5 others: Dr. Alan Grant, a linguist; Dr. Susan Lee, a biologist; Major Paul Harris, a military advisor; Ben Ward, a technology expert; and Linda Jackson, another diplomat who was Elaine's friend. "The shuttle from their ship will be here in 10 minutes, said a nervous general. "Are you sure you're ready for this?" "No," Elaine answered honestly, "but we'll do our best." The alien shuttle landed softly on the airfield. It was smooth and silver, with no visible windows. A door appeared in its side, opening without a sound. The creature that stepped out was nothing like the little green men from old movies. It stood nearly 8 feet tall, with a body covered in iridescent scales that shifted color in the sunlight. Its face was elegant and predatory, with large yellow eyes that had vertical pupils like a cat's. It moved with the grace of a dancer, though its hands ended in claws that looked sharp enough to cut through metal. More aliens emerged behind it, each carrying what appeared to be weapons. "Remember," Elaine whispered to her team, "show no fear. Whatever happens, stay calm." She stepped forward, hands empty and visible. "I am Elaine Murphy, representing the people of Earth. We welcome you in peace." For a moment, nothing happened. Then the first alien made a series of clicking sounds. A small device on its chest glowed, and a mechanical voice spoke. "I am Commander Zara of the Valhari Dominion. Your world is now under our consideration." Not the friendliest opening, Elaine thought, but at least they could communicate. The next few hours were a blur of careful words and protocol. The aliens, the Valhari, requested to speak with Earth's leaders aboard their ship. After much discussion over secure channels, it was decided that Elaine's team would go as representatives. The journey to the alien ship was surprisingly quick. The shuttle rose smoothly, and within minutes, Earth was a blue marble below them. The Valhari ship was even more impressive, up close a city in space, with countless lights and structures visible through transparent sections of its hull. Inside, the air smelled faintly of cinnamon. The gravity felt slightly lighter than Earth's. The halls were tall and wide, clearly built for beings larger than humans. Elaine noticed something odd as they were led through the ship. The Valhari crew they passed seemed to give her and this other humans extra space. They moved aside, watching with those unsettling yellow eyes. Some even made gestures that looked defensive. They were taken to a large room with a circular table. Commander Zara sat across from them, flanked by other Valhari whose scales were decorated with what might have been rank insignia. "Your species has achieved reasonable technological development," Zara said through the translator. "This is unexpected, given your obvious limitations." Major Harris tensed beside Elaine. She touched his arm gently, warning him to stay quiet. "What? Limitations, do you mean?" Elaine asked politely. Zara's head tilted to one side. "You are clearly prey animals. No natural weapons, slow, physically weak, poor senses, yet you dominate your planet." Dr. Lee leaned forward, scientific curiosity overcoming her nervousness. "We've evolved intelligence and cooperation instead of physical advantages." "So we have observed," another Valhari said. "It is unusual." The meeting continued for several hours. The Valhari asked questions about Earth's governments, military capabilities, and resources. They answered few questions about themselves, beyond confirming they had visited many worlds and ruled a large region of space they called the Dominion Dot at the end. Commander Zara looked directly at Elaine. "We will continue discussions tomorrow. You and your team will remain aboard our ship as guests." "As guests or as prisoners?" Major Harris asked bluntly. Zara's scales shifted to a deeper blue. "Is there a difference?" "You cannot leave without our assistance." The humans were shown to comfortable but clearly alien quarters. The beds were too large, the chairs too high. The food provided was analyzed by Dr. Lee and found safe, though it tasted strange. Later that night, as the others slept, Elaine stood at a large window in their quarters, looking down at Earth. She jumped when a voice spoke behind her. "You should be sleeping. Humans require more rest than Valhari." It was Commander Zara, standing in the doorway, alone. "I have too much on my mind," Elaine replied. Zara moved closer, her movements fluid and predatory. Elaine had to tilt her head back to meet those yellow eyes. "Your species puzzles us," Zara said. "We studied your transmissions before making contact. You fight wars among yourselves with impressive savagery for being so physically weak. You build weapons capable of destroying your own planet. Yet you send diplomats instead of soldiers to meet us. We prefer peaceful solutions when possible," Elaine said. "Would you like me to explain our history?" Zara's head tilted again in that curious gesture. "That won't be necessary. What interests me is why you, personally, show no fear in my presence." The question caught Elaine off guard. She looked up at the towering alien with its sharp claws and predator's eyes. "Should I fear you?" she asked carefully. Zara leaned down until her face was inches from Elaine's. "Every species we have encountered has responded to us with instinctual terror. It is natural. My ancestors hunted creatures very much like you, yet your heart rate increases only slightly. Your eyes remain steady. Why don't you fear me, human?" The question hung in the air between them. Elaine realized this might be more important than it seemed. Something told her that her answer could determine the future relationship between humans and the Valhari. She looked into those alien eyes and prepared to give the most important answer of her diplomatic career. Elaine took a deep breath. The alien commander towered over her, waiting for an answer. The ship hummed quietly around them, as Earth shone blue and green through the window. "I do fear you," Elaine said finally. "I'd be foolish not to." Zara's yellow eyes widened slightly. This was clearly not the answer she expected. "But fear doesn't control me," Elaine continued. Humans have learned that fear is just information. It tells us about possible danger, nothing more. What we do with that information is our choice. Zara pulled back, her scales shifting to a lighter shade. Explain. Our ancient ancestors were prey animals, as you said. Fear kept them alive. But over time, we learned to think beyond our instincts. I can feel afraid and still choose my actions separately. Elaine gestured toward the window. Every human who has ever accomplished anything important has felt fear and acted anyway. Zara was silent for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was different, almost respectful. No species has ever answered this way. Most either deny their fear, which is a lie, or they let it rule them. She moved toward the door. We will speak more tomorrow, Elaine Murphy. Your answer ... requires consideration. After Zara left, Elaine finally let her shoulders drop. Her hands were shaking. She had been terrified the entire time, but she hadn't let it show. She went back to her bed, wondering if she had said the right thing. The next morning, the human team gathered around a table in their quarters. The food provided looked like colorful cubes and smelled like honey. Something happened, Major Harris sighed, watching Elaine's face. You look like you didn't sleep. I had a visitor last night, Elaine explained. She told them about her conversation with Zara. Dr. Grant leaned forward. This might be important culturally. Maybe their society values predator traits. They could be trying to understand how we think. Or they're testing us, Major Harris said, seeing if we show weakness. Before they could discuss further, 2 Valhari guards arrived to escort them to the main meeting chamber. This room was much larger than before, with at least 20 Valhari seated in raised positions around the walls. Commander Zara stood in the center. Elaine Murphy, Zara said, the High Council wishes to speak with you alone. The other humans protested, but Elaine agreed. She stepped forward while her team was led to seats on one side of the room. A larger Valhari with scales that shimmered with age approached. I am Elder Krell. Commander Zara has shared your conversation. It has caused ... discussion among us. Elaine nodded politely, waiting. For 50,000 years, the Valhari Dominion has expanded through this galaxy, Elder Krell continued. We have encountered many species. Most become our servants. Some become our allies. The difference is determined by their nature and their response to us. Another elder spoke up. Predator species usually fight, then join us as equals if they prove worthy. Prey species submit and serve. It is the natural order. But you're humans, Krell said. You do not fit our understanding. You have prey bodies, but predator minds. You acknowledge fear, but act despite it. This is ... new to us. Elaine thought carefully, before responding. With respect, perhaps your understanding of the natural order is incomplete. On Earth, many animals that are considered prey are still dangerous when threatened. They fight fiercely to protect themselves and their young. A murmur ran through the watching Valhari. Furthermore, Elaine continued, humans have learned to work together. Our individual weaknesses become less important when we cooperate. Our greatest strength isn't in our bodies, but in our communities. Commander Zara stepped forward. The Council has been discussing your planet's fate. We came to claim Earth for the Dominion. This is our way, but your response has caused us to reconsider. Elder Krell made a gesture, and a large screen appeared. In the air, it showed images of Earth, cities, forests, oceans. Your planet has resources we desire. Your position in this sector of space is valuable to us. Elaine felt her heart sink. This was about conquest after all. However, Zara continued, we now believe humans might serve the Dominion better as allies than as subjects. There was an immediate reaction from several Valhari in the room. Some made sharp clicking sounds that the translators didn't catch. Others stood, scales flashing bright colors. "This is unprecedented," one called out. "They are physically inferior. They have no proven battle record against other worlds," another argued. Elder Krell raised a clawed hand, and silence fell. "Before we decide, we wish to understand humans better. Commander Zara has proposed a test." Zara looked directly at Elaine. "Your answer about fear intrigues us. In Valhari culture, we have a ritual called the Krevda. It tests one's ability to face fear with clarity. No non-Valhari has ever been offered this challenge." "What does it involve?" Elaine asked. "You will face a series of trials designed to trigger your fear response. Your actions during these trials will show us your true nature." Major Harris stood up from his seat. "This sounds dangerous. As military advisor, I object." "The human will not be physically harmed," Elder Krell said, "but the fear will be real." Elaine thought about Earth below them, about the billions of people waiting to hear what would happen. If these aliens had wanted to destroy humanity, they could have done so already. This might be their only chance to establish a relationship that wasn't based on submission. "I accept the challenge," she said. "When does it begin?" "Now," Zara replied. The room darkened suddenly. The other humans called out in alarm, but their voices seemed distant. Elaine found herself alone in what appeared to be a forest. The trees were strange, with purple leaves and twisted trunks. It was night, with 3 moons casting eerie light through the branches. She realized this must be some kind of simulation or virtual reality. The air felt cool on her skin, and she could smell something like wet soil and decaying leaves. It seemed completely real. A low growl came from behind her. Elaine turned slowly. A creature stood there, larger than any predator on Earth. It resembled a Valhari, but moved on all 4s, with additional limbs and a mouth full of teeth that gleamed in the moonlight. Its scales were dark, almost black, and its eyes glowed with hunger. Elaine's heart pounded in her chest. Every instinct screamed at her to run. But she remembered her own words. Fear is information, not a command. The creature snarled and took a step toward her. The first trial had begun. The creature growled louder and moved closer to Elaine. Its hot breath smelled like metal and something rotten. Elaine's legs trembled, but she remained standing. She looked directly into the creature's glowing eyes. "I see you," she said, peeping, her voice as steady as possible. "I know this is a test." The beast lunged forward suddenly. Elaine didn't run. Instead, she dropped to her knees and made herself small, head down, eyes closed. She remembered reading once that some predators lose interest if prey doesn't flee. She waited for pain, counting her rapid heartbeats. 1, 2, 3. Nothing happened. When she opened her eyes, the forest was gone. She was in a plain white room. Commander Zara stood watching her, head tilted in that now familiar gesture of curiosity. "Interesting," Zara said. "Most beings run or fight. You did neither." Elaine stood up slowly. "Running would likely trigger your hunting instinct. Fighting would be foolish given the size difference. I chose a third option." "Submission?" Zara asked. "No, strategy." Elaine brushed off her knees. "I was still afraid, but I used my mind to find a better solution than what my fear suggested." Zara made a clicking sound that the translator didn't. "Catch. The second trial begins." The white room disappeared. Elaine now stood on what looked like a narrow bridge over a bottomless pit. The bridge was barely wide enough for her feet and seemed to be made of glass. Far below, darkness swirled with occasional flashes of light, like a storm in space. Height. They had somehow known she was afraid of heights. "Cross the bridge." Zara's voice came from everywhere and nowhere. Elaine looked ahead. The bridge stretched. for what seemed like 100 feet, ending at a small platform. Her palms were sweating, and her stomach felt tight. She took one careful step, then another. The glass felt solid under her feet, but knowing it was there didn't stop the dizziness she felt looking down. 4 steps in, the bridge began to crack. Lines appeared in the glass beneath her feet, spreading like spider webs. Panic rose in her throat. Elaine forced herself to think. This was a simulation. It felt real, but it wasn't. Even if it was, the Valhari had said she wouldn't be physically harmed. This was about facing fear, not about actual danger. She took another step. The cracking sounds grew louder. The bridge shook slightly. Instead of looking down, Elaine fixed her eyes on the platform ahead. She began to talk to herself out loud, something she did when nervous. 1 step at a time. That's all you need to think about. 1 step, then another. She was halfway across when the bridge broke behind her. The section she had already crossed fell away into the darkness. There was no going back now. The cracks under her feet were spreading faster. She had to move quickly. Elaine took a deep breath and ran. Each step made a terrible cracking sound, but she didn't stop. Just before she reached the platform, the last section of bridge shattered. She jumped, arms outstretched, and landed hard on the platform. For a moment, she lay there, breathing heavily, eyes closed with relief. When she opened them, she was back in the White Room. This time, Elder Krell stood with Zara. "You show remarkable control," the Elder said. "Even with increased heart rate and stress hormones, you found solutions." "Humans practice this," Elaine explained, still catching her breath. "We have activities called extreme sports, where we deliberately face fears in controlled situations. It helps us learn to manage our responses." Krell exchanged a look with Zara. "The final trial is different. It tests not just your personal courage, but your species' values." The room changed again. This time, Elaine found herself back in the meeting chamber on the Valhari ship. Her team members were there, along with the Valhari Council. Everything looked normal, except for a large container in the center of the room. The container was clear, like glass, and filled with water. Inside was a small child, a human boy about 6 years old with blonde hair. He was unconscious, floating peacefully. Elaine's heart nearly stopped. "What is this?" she demanded, rushing toward the container. "A choice," Elder Krell said. "This human child was taken from your planet during our initial scans. He is unharmed, but in suspended animation." Zara stepped forward. "We will return to Earth now and begin formal relations with your species. If you wish us to view humans as potential allies rather than subjects, you must demonstrate your species' fitness." Elaine looked at the child, then back at Zara. "What are you asking me to do?" "Leave him with us," Krell said. "1 human in exchange for favorable terms for billions. He will be studied, but not harmed. He will live a comfortable life in the Dominion." Major Harris stood up. "This is monstrous. We don't trade children." Dr. Lee was shaking. "You can't ask this of us. No human would agree to such terms." Elaine looked at the floating boy. His face was peaceful, unaware of what was happening around him. She thought about Earth, about all the people waiting for her to secure their future. Then she looked at Zara. "Is this real or another simulation? Does it matter?" Zara asked. "The choice reveals your values either way." Elaine walked to the container and placed her hand on the glass. "In human history, we have sometimes made terrible choices in the name of the greater good. Some leaders would sacrifice 1 child to save billions." She turned to face the Valhari Council. "But each time we do this, we lose something of ourselves. Our strongest values mean nothing if we abandon them when they become difficult." She straightened her back and looked directly at Elder Krell. My answer is no. I will not trade this child or any child. If that means the Valhari see humans as weak, so be it. But know this, if you took a real child from Earth, every human nation would unite against you, regardless of the odds. We would fight until either we were destroyed or you returned him. The room was silent. Then, slowly, the container with the boy began to fade, becoming transparent, then disappearing completely. Elder Krell's scales shifted to a bright gold color. The trial is complete. Zara stepped forward. There was no child. As you suspected, it was a simulation. But your choice was real, and it tells us what we needed to know. The other Valhari in the room were making sounds that the translator couldn't keep up with. Some seemed agitated, others excited. What did it tell you? Elaine asked. Bet humans have limits to your practicality, Elder Krell said. You will not sacrifice your young, even when it seems logical. This is not weakness, as some of us thought. It is something we had not considered. Zara's scales rippled with color. The council must deliberate on what we have learned. You and your team will return to your quarters while we decide Earth's status. As they were led away, Major Harris whispered to Elaine, What do you think will happen? Elaine shook her head. I don't know, but I couldn't have chosen differently. Linda squeezed her arm. None of us could have. You showed them who we really are. Back in their quarters, Elaine stood at the window again, looking down at Earth. She had faced her fears and stayed true to human values. Now she could only wait to see if that was enough. Hours passed as Elaine and her team waited. They tried to rest, but sleep was impossible. They talked in low voices about what might happen next. If they decide against us, what can we do? Ben asked, his face pale with worry. Major Harris paced. The room. Not much. Their technology is far beyond ours. But we could warn Earth, at least. I don't think they'll harm us, Elaine said. They seemed genuinely curious about humans. They could have simply taken what they wanted without these tests. Dr. Grant nodded. I agree. They're trying to understand us. That's a good sign. A soft tone sounded, and the door to their quarters slid open. Commander Zara stood there alone. Elaine Murphy, the council requests your presence. Elaine stood. Her team moved to follow, but Zara raised a hand. Only Elaine Murphy. For now, the others protested, but Elaine nodded. It's okay. I'll be fine. She wasn't sure if that was true, but she needed to appear confident. She followed Zara through the ship's corridors. They walked in silence until Zara suddenly stopped. Before we join the council, I wish to speak privately, the commander said. Your responses in the trials were unexpected. In what way? Elaine asked. The Valhari believe strength comes from embracing our nature. Predators hunt. Prey flees. It is simple. Zara's scales rippled with color. But humans ... You acknowledge. Your nature then choose whether to follow it. This is new to us. Is that good or bad? It is ... interesting. Some on the council see it as dangerous. Others see potential. Zara tilted her head. I personally find it fascinating. They continued walking and soon arrived at a different chamber than before. This room was smaller, with a round table. Only 3 Valhari were present. Elder Krell and 2 others Elaine hadn't met. Sit, please, Krell said, gesturing to a chair that looked made for human proportions. Elaine sat, back straight, hands folded on the table. She waited. We have reached a decision regarding Earth, Elder Krell said. But first, we have questions. One of the other Valhari leaned forward. Her scales were a deep green. I am Elder Vex. Tell me, if the Valhari offered humans advanced technology in exchange for resources, would your people accept? Elaine considered carefully. That would depend on the resources and the technology. We would want a fair exchange. It doesn't harm our planet. Even if the technology could save lives, cure diseases, Elder Vex pressed. We value life highly, but not at any cost, Elaine replied. History has taught us to be cautious about deals that seem too good. The third. Valhari spoke. He was larger than the others, with battle scars visible on his scales. I am Elder Drav. If another species threatened Earth, would humans expect the Valhari to defend them as allies? Allies support each other, Elaine said. But we wouldn't expect help without being willing to offer help in return. Elder Drav's eyes narrowed. Even against a technologically superior enemy? When victory seems impossible? Elaine smiled slightly. Humans specialize in facing impossible odds. We would fight regardless of the chances of winning. The three elders exchanged looks. Elder Krell turned back to Elaine. We have studied your broadcasts, your history. Humans fight constantly among themselves. You divide by nations, religions, resources. How can such a divided species be a reliable ally? This was the question Elaine had been expecting, the heart of their concerns. It's true that humans disagree and sometimes fight, she admitted. But we also come together when faced with common challenges or threats. Our differences are both our weakness and our strength. They drive us to compete, but also to innovate and adapt. She leaned forward. And despite our divisions, there are values almost all humans share. Protecting children, helping those in need, curiosity about the unknown. These common values can unite us. Commander Zara, who had been standing silently, now spoke. The trials showed that Elaine Murphy refused to sacrifice a child, even to benefit her entire species. Is this truly common among humans? Yes, Elaine said firmly. There are exceptions. Of course, some humans do terrible things. But most of us believe certain actions are wrong, regardless of the benefits they might bring. Elder Krell's scales shifted to a deep blue. The Council has voted. We will not claim Earth as a subject world. Elaine's heart leapt, but she kept her face calm. And what will you do instead? We offer a different arrangement, Elder Krell said. Not subjects, not quite allies yet. Let us call it a probationary period. We will establish an embassy on Earth. A small number of Valhari will live among humans, learning your ways. A small number of humans may visit Valhari worlds. After 50 cycles, Elder Vex continued, we will evaluate whether humans and Valhari can truly work together as allies. Elaine felt relief wash over her. This was better than she had hoped for. That seems reasonable. I believe my leaders would accept those terms, though I can't speak officially for all Earth governments. Of course, Elder Krell said. Formal agreements will require more discussion, but the foundation is set. Elder Drav still looked skeptical. I remain concerned about human unpredictability. You control your fears instead of being controlled by them. This makes your actions difficult to anticipate. Elaine met his gaze steadily. Perhaps that's exactly why we would make good allies. We see possibilities where others might see only danger or opportunity. Commander Zara made a sound that the translator rendered as laughter. Well said, Elaine Murphy. Elder Krell stood. Return to your team. Tell them what we have discussed. Tomorrow, we will begin arrangements to contact Earth's leaders directly. As Elaine walked back with Commander Zara, she finally allowed herself to smile. The danger wasn't completely past, but Earth had a chance now. A chance for something better than conquest. Commander, she said, may I ask a personal question? You may ask. When you first asked why I didn't fear you, what answer were you expecting? Zara was quiet for a moment. I expected denial, or perhaps a show of bravery. Most species either lie about their fear or tried to overcome it with aggression. And my answer surprised you? Yes. Zara stopped walking and turned to face her. You admitted fear, but showed that it didn't control you. This made me question much of what the Valhari believe about other species, about the natural order. Elaine thought about this. Perhaps the natural order isn't as simple as predator and prey. Nature is full of surprises and exceptions. Like humans, Zara said. Like humans, Elaine agreed. They continued walking, an alien predator and a human diplomat, both considering new possibilities for their species. 1 month later, Elaine stood at a podium in the United Nations building in New York. Behind her sat Commander Zara and 2 other Valhari representatives. Before her were delegates from every nation on Earth. Cameras broadcast the event worldwide. Today marks a historic moment for humanity, Elaine said into the microphones. The agreement we have reached with the Valhari Dominion opens a new chapter in human history. We are no longer alone in the universe. She explained the terms they had negotiated: cultural exchange programs, limited technology sharing, and the establishment of a Valhari embassy in Geneva. In return, Earth would provide certain rare minerals and allow a small scientific outpost on the moon. This is just the beginning, she continued. The Valhari have given us 50 years to prove ourselves as potential allies. What we do with this opportunity is up to all of us. As Elaine finished her speech, the room erupted in applause. Not everyone was happy with the agreement, of course. Some nations wanted more technology. Others feared any deal with aliens. But most people understood this was the best outcome they could have hoped for. After the ceremony, Elaine found herself in a small meeting room with her original team and the Valhari representatives. They shared a meal together, separate foods, as Valhari could not eat Earth cuisine and humans could not digest Valhari food. Your world leaders asked many good questions, Zara said. They are cautious, but open to possibilities. This is wise. Major Harris, who had initially been the most suspicious of the Valhari, raised his glass to new beginnings. Everyone drank to the toast. The atmosphere was relaxed now, almost friendly. Later, as the meeting was ending, Commander Zara asked Elaine to walk with her. They strolled through the UN garden, an odd pair that drew stares from everyone they passed. I will be returning to the Dominion tomorrow, Zara said. Other Valhari will oversee the embassy here. You're leaving? Elaine was surprised at her own disappointment. I thought you would stay. My duties lie elsewhere. But I requested to be the liaison for Earth in the High Council. My request was granted. That's good news, Elaine said. You understand humans better than most Valhari. Zara made a clicking sound that Elaine now recognized as amusement. I am still learning. Your species continues to surprise me. It walked in silence for a moment before Zara spoke again. There is something I never told you about our first conversation. When I asked why you didn't fear me, we had already decided. Earth would be claimed as a subject world. Your answer changed everything. Elaine stopped walking. Really? Just my answer about fear? Yes. It made me question thousands of years of Valhari beliefs about the natural order of species. Zara's scales rippled with color. I brought my questions to Elder Krell, who agreed we needed to understand humans better before making a final decision. That's why you created the trials, Elaine realized. Zara nodded. We needed to see if your response was unique or representative of humans. And what did you conclude? That humans are unlike any species we have encountered. You feel fear deeply, yet you can set it aside when needed. You fight among yourselves constantly, yet unite for common causes. You are physically weak, yet you have dominated your planet through cooperation and innovation. Zara's yellow eyes seemed to glow in the fading light. You are both predator and prey, both practical and idealistic. Elaine smiled. We contain multitudes. Yes, and that makes you dangerous, but also potentially valuable as allies. Zara looked up at the darkening sky. The universe is vast and not always friendly. The Valhari have enemies. Perhaps humans, with your unique perspective, will see solutions where we see only threats. I hope so, Elaine said, for both our sakes. 6 months later, Elaine sat in her new office at the newly formed Department of Interstellar Relations. On her desk was a small gift from Commander Zara, a crystal that glowed with shifting colors, similar to Valhari scales. Beside it sat a stack of applications from people hoping to be among the first humans to visit Valhari worlds. Her assistant knocked on the door. Dr. Lee is here to see you. Susan Lee had been appointed head of the scientific team studying Valhari biology and culture. She entered with a tablet in her hand, looking excited. You won't believe what we've discovered, she said without preamble. The Valhari fear response is completely different from ours. When they feel threatened, their brains produce chemicals that enhance aggression and focus. They literally cannot feel fear without responding with immediate action. Elaine leaned forward. So when I told Zara that humans can feel fear, but choose their actions separately, ... It was completely foreign to her, Susan finished. Valhari biology doesn't allow for that separation. For them, feeling and action are the same thing. That explains why our answer was so surprising to them, Elaine said thoughtfully. We showed them something they didn't think was possible. Exactly. And there's more. We've been reviewing their historical records. The Valhari have conquered hundreds of species, but they've never faced a serious threat themselves. They've always been the apex predators. Elaine considered this. So they've never had to learn what humans have, how to turn fear into something useful rather than controlling. Right, and that might be important someday. Susan hesitated. Their records mention other powerful species at the edges of their territory. Species that even the Valhari are cautious about confronting. The implications were clear. The 50-year probationary period wasn't just about the Valhari deciding if humans were worthy allies. It was also about humans proving they could bring something unique to the relationship. Later that evening, Elaine sent a message to Commander Zara, now back in the Valhari Dominion. Communication was possible, but slow, with messages taking several days to reach their destination. We're beginning to understand each other better, she wrote. Fear has shaped both our species, but in different ways. Yours taught you to be strong. Ours taught us to be adaptable. Perhaps together we can be both. As she sent the message toward the stars, Elaine thought about that first conversation on the Valhari ship. A simple question about fear had changed the course of human history. And perhaps, someday, it would change the Valhari as well. She looked out her window at the night sky, where a small bright point marked the Valhari outpost on the moon. Somewhere up there, humans and aliens were learning to work together despite their differences, despite their fears. It was just the beginning.